My name is Madison, and I am 27 years old. My home in Westlake Hills is supposed to be a fortress. High walls, security cameras, iron gates. It is the kind of place you buy when you have spent your whole life looking over your shoulder. But when I pulled into the driveway last Saturday, the gates were wide open. There were 4 cars parked on the crushed gravel drive, cars I didn't recognize. I walked through the front door, my keys still clutched in my hand, and the sound of laughter drifted from the living room. Standing there, holding a glass of my best wine, was my mother, Cynthia, a woman I hadn't spoken to in 9 years. She was wearing a cream silk blouse, holding court with 2 of my husband Caleb's business partners, laughing like she owned the place. She was telling them that we always knew Madison had such potential, claiming it ran in the family. She didn't see me at first. She was too busy playing the role of the benevolent matriarch, the grandmother who had always been there. The audacity was breathtaking. My hands weren't shaking from fear. They were shaking with a cold, absolute rage. She had abandoned me when I was 18, pregnant and homeless. Now, she was drinking my wine and rewriting history in my own living room. Before I tell you exactly how I got her out of my house and out of the state of Texas forever, drop a comment and let me know. What is the one boundary with your family that you are terrified to set? I want to know. I'm not alone in this. I didn't scream. I didn't throw my wine glass or demand an explanation. Screaming is for people who need to be heard. I didn't need to be heard. I needed to be understood. I looked across the room at my husband, Caleb. He was standing by the fireplace, his face a mask of stone. He saw the look in my eyes, that specific, quiet signal we had agreed upon years ago, if this nightmare ever came back to haunt us. He didn't say a word. He just pulled his phone from his pocket and tapped the screen twice. The soft jazz music playing through the house speakers cut out instantly. The 65-inch television mounted above the fireplace, which had been displaying a slideshow of abstract art, flickered and went black. Then, a single, high-resolution image filled the screen. The room went deadly silent. It wasn't a family photo. It was a scan of a document, yellowed with age but digitized into sharp clarity. The header read, Austin Police Department. Incident report number 88204. The date was November 14th. 9 years ago. I watched the guests squinting, trying to make sense of it. Caleb zoomed in on the officer's notes at the bottom. The text was large enough for everyone to read. Subject, Madison. Age 18. Status, abandoned, minor, and homeless. Parent contacted Cynthia. Response, refused to retrieve subject. Stated, subject is no longer her problem. Cynthia's smile faltered. Just for a second. She looked at the screen, then back at the guests, letting out a breathless, charming laugh. She dismissed it, claiming we all had our dramatic teenage phases and that she was merely trying to teach me a lesson about responsibility, insisting tough love is misunderstood. She turned to me, her eyes hard but her smile fixed, and told me to turn it off because it was embarrassing. I told her she was right. It was embarrassing. Then I told her to get out. She asked me to excuse myself, but I stepped further into the room. I told her she was trespassing. She was not invited. She did not know my daughter. And she did not know me. She straightened her spine, pulling that cloak of victimhood around her shoulders like a shawl. She announced that she was my mother, her voice rising to a tremble that I knew was performative. She claimed she had a right to be there, a right to know her granddaughter, and insisted I couldn't just throw her away because I married rich. Caleb didn't look up from his phone. He just tapped the screen one more time. A voice filled the room. It wasn't the police report this time. It was audio. It was a voicemail. Distorted, by time, but unmistakable. Cynthia's voice snarled from the speakers, dripping with venom, telling me not to dare come back. She said she didn't care if I was sleeping on the street and that I was dead to her. The recording ended with a sharp click. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. The business partners Caleb had been talking to looked at the floor, uncomfortable and horrified. The facade of the doting grandmother had shattered completely, leaving only the ugly truth underneath. Caleb told her security was outside, His tone was conversational, almost bored. He gave her the choice to walk or be carried. Cynthia looked at me, her face cycling through shock, then rage, and finally, a cold calculation. She realized the audience was lost. She grabbed her purse, her knuckles white. As she brushed past me, she hissed that I would regret this, asking if I thought money made me safe, warning me I had no idea what she could do. I watched her walk out the front door, the heavy oak slamming shut behind her. The click of the lock engaging was the most satisfying sound I had ever heard. But as the adrenaline began to fade, replaced by the familiar tremor in my hands, I knew she was right about one thing. This wasn't the end. It was just the opening move. The front door clicked shut, and the noise of the outside world vanished. The house was quiet again. That deep, insulated silence that only thick walls and expensive engineering can provide. Caleb dismissed the security team with a nod and then turned to me. He didn't try to fix it. He just pulled me into his arms. And for the first time that day, I let myself shake. I buried my face in his shirt, breathing in the scent of cedar and laundry detergent, trying to ground myself. But my mind was already traveling back, pulled by the gravity of the past, to a place that looked nothing like this mansion. I was 18 years old again, standing in the rain outside a trailer park in Del Valle. The air smelled of wet asphalt and desperation. My stomach was cramping with hunger, but I didn't dare go back inside. Not after Cynthia had thrown my clothes into the mud and told me I was spoiled goods. People always ask why I didn't leave sooner or fight back. They look at the woman I am now, wealthy, protected, fierce, and they can't reconcile her with the girl who slept in a laundromat for 3 nights because she was too afraid to ask for help. They don't understand the trap. It wasn't just fear. It was something far more insidious. It was a cage built not of iron, but of words, repeated daily until they became the only truth I knew. Psychologists call it learned helplessness. It is what happens when an animal is shocked repeatedly, no matter what it does, until eventually, even when the cage door is left open, it doesn't run. It just lies down and takes the pain because it believes escape is impossible. Cynthia didn't just neglect me. She curated my reality from the time I was 5. She taught me that love was a currency I could never afford. If I wanted dinner, I had to be silent. If I wanted a hug, I had to earn it by being invisible. She normalized the idea that my existence was a burden, a debt I could never repay. So when she kicked me out, I didn't feel angry. I felt like I deserved it. I felt like the trash she said I was. It took me 9 years to realize that the door had been open the whole time. It took 9 years to realize that the shock wasn't a punishment. It was just cruelty. And standing there in my living room, surrounded by the life I had built from the ashes of her neglect, I realized something else. I wasn't shaking because I was scared of her. I was shaking because I was finally, truly angry. The fog of conditioning had lifted, and all that was left was the clarity of what she had stolen from me. Not just money or security, but my own sense of worth. Caleb told me softly that she wasn't going to stop. I pulled away, looked up at him, and told him I knew. He asked what I wanted to do. I looked at the blank TV screen where the police report had been. I thought about Mia, sleeping upstairs, innocent and safe in a way I never was. I told him I wanted to make sure she never gets close enough to hurt us again. Not just physically, legally. I wanted a wall so high she couldn't even see over it. Caleb nodded and said we would build it. But I knew Cynthia. Humiliation wouldn't stop her. It would only make her desperate. And a desperate narcissist is the most dangerous creature on earth. She wouldn't just go away. She would come back. And she would bring everything she had. I just didn't realize how quickly it would happen. 2 days passed, in a heavy, suffocating silence. I didn't leave the estate. I kept Mia home from school, telling her it was a special long weekend. We baked cookies, watched cartoons, and pretended that the world outside the gate hadn't turned hostile. I almost let myself believe that the humiliation had worked, that Cynthia had retreated to lick her wounds and would leave us alone. I should have known better. Narcissists don't retreat. They reload. On Tuesday morning, a gray sedan pulled up to the intercom. A man in a cheap suit identified himself as a courier. I walked down the long driveway to meet him, keeping the iron gate between us. He didn't have a package. He had a thick, manila envelope. He confirmed my name, told me I had been served, slid the envelope through the bars, and walked away without looking back. I opened it right there on the driveway. The Texas sun beating down on the crisp white paper. The header was bold and terrifying. In the District Court of Travis County, petition for grandparents' access and emergency temporary restraining order. My hands went cold. She wasn't just suing for visitation. She was filing an emergency motion to take custody. I flipped to the affidavit. The legal language was designed to destroy. The petitioner, Cynthia Vance, alleges that the respondent, Madison Vance, is mentally unstable and unfit to manage the care of the minor child, Mia. It claimed that my sudden change in financial status, combined with a history of erratic behavior and homelessness, made me a flight risk and a danger to my own daughter. But it was Exhibit A that made the bile rise in my throat. She hadn't just made up lies. She had weaponized the truth. Stapled to the affidavit were grainy photocopies of text messages. My text messages. From 5 years ago. One read, "Mom, please, I just need $20. She's hungry. I don't get paid until Friday. I'll pay you back double. Please pick up." Another read, "I don't know what to do. The electricity is off. Can we just come over for one night, please?" I remembered sending those texts. I remembered typing them with shivering fingers in a dark apartment, huddled under blankets, praying for a miracle that never came. She had never replied to them. Not once. But she had saved them. She had archived my desperation. Not to help me, but to use it as ammunition. Underneath the screenshots, her lawyer had written, "Evidence of respondent's inability to provide basic necessities and history of financial incompetence. Respondent's sudden access to wealth is likely to result in reckless behavior and instability." She was using my survival against me. She was arguing that because she had starved me, I was unfit to be full. I looked up at the house, at the window where Mia was playing with her dolls. Cynthia didn't want Mia. She didn't care about Mia's safety. If she did, she wouldn't have left us to rot in a trailer park. This wasn't about love. It was about the trust fund. It was about control. She knew she couldn't charm her way into the bank account. So she was going to use the court system to break down the door. I walked back into the house, the papers crinkling in my fist. Caleb met me in the hallway, saw the look on my face, and took the envelope. He read it in silence, his jaw tightening until a muscle feathered in his cheek. He said she wanted a war. I took the papers back and looked at the signature at the bottom, Cynthia's jagged, aggressive scrawl. I told him she didn't want a war. She wanted a payout. And she was willing to burn my life to the ground to get it. I didn't cry. The time for tears was over. I walked into my office and laid the lawsuit on the desk next to my laptop. I stared at it until the fear turned into something useful. Something cold. I told Caleb to call the lawyer. We were not going to court. The war room was a glass-walled conference room in downtown Austin. Caleb's attorney, Marcus, quickly dismissed the lawsuit as weak under Texas law and proposed countersuing for harassment and defamation. Caleb wanted to crush her. I refused. I explained that court was exactly what Cynthia wanted: attention, sympathy, and a public stage. Instead of fighting, I proposed a settlement designed to look like a win, but function as a trap. Marcus drafted an agreement, a $5 million irrevocable trust for Mia, airtight and untouchable, and a $200,000 cash settlement for Cynthia. In return, she would permanently waive all parental rights and agree to lifetime no-contact and non-disparagement clauses, enforced by a clawback provision, $50,000 per violation, and immediate forfeiture of the full settlement. At mediation, Cynthia never read the contract. She fixated on the check, signed everything, and walked out believing she had won. She hadn't. 22 days later, she posted online, bragging about her victory, then escalated by posting a photo near Mia's school. 3 violations. The penalties triggered automatically. Her accounts were frozen. Her Lexus was repossessed. And she was served with a writ of execution. She owed $350. 000, and had less than $40. 000 left. Within days. She was evicted and legally barred from the county. The chaos ended not with anger, but with silence. Watching Mia play safely in our yard, I understood something clearly. Justice isn't revenge. It's protection. I didn't destroy Cynthia. I let her be exactly who she was. On paper. The contract did the rest. I didn't go to war. I drafted an ending.